Just how profitable is high-ticket dropshipping? This is a question that has a lot of variables needed to answer, a lot of nuance, a lot of case-by-case situations, but I'm going to do my best to kind of give a realistic expectation as far as what to expect when we're talking about net profit for high-ticket dropshipping. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you haven't, like, comment, subscribe. I'm doing my best in 2025 to upload a new video every single day, all about high-ticket dropshipping. So hope you come along for the ride if you haven't subscribed. And if you are interested in getting into high-ticket dropshipping, building your own online business, I recommend checking out my high-ticket dropshipping program. Link is in the description below. And I'll mention this real quick. I'm in the process of releasing a second version, a 2025 version of the course. The first one that I recorded, it was back in 2022. There are several things that just needed to be updated, and so I'm just building an entire new course. And one exciting thing that I'm happy to announce is I'm actually going to have a partner for SEO purposes on this course. Her name is Lisa Whaley. And I am going to be partnering with Lisa on this course as she brings with her 20 years of SEO experience. So she is truly an SEO expert. So if you buy the current course at the current price, you will be grandfathered into the new course, which will be much more expensive. So I will leave that there. Let's get into the topic at hand, which is how profitable is high-ticket dropshipping. So there are several factors to consider here, and I think where we need to start the conversation is the actual gross margins that you are getting from your suppliers for the products that you're selling. And when it comes to just pure margins, meaning what is the discount percentage that your suppliers are selling their products to you for you to resell at retail price. And this can be all over the map. Part of this is going to depend on, are you working directly with the manufacturer of the products, or are you working with a third-party distributor? That is going to depend on the industry a lot of the time. It really is just going to depend on what the actual manufacturer, requires of their distributors or their dealers. And when it comes to margins, I've seen anywhere from 5 to 10%. I would say more commonly, we're talking in the 20 to 40% range. I've even seen some cases. I've got a client with my Google Ads service right now that's getting 50% margins on his products from a particular supplier. That said, there are really two things that the margins are going to depend on, because they can be the same within any industry, or they can be very different. Let's say I'm always going to use the example water pumps on my YouTube, and having sold water pumps in the past with my own high-ticket dropshipping business, I can speak to this. You could have company A, company B, they're my suppliers that I'm working with. Company A sells water pumps, they produce water pumps, and they're giving me 45% margins for my dealer discount. Whereas company B, they're also producing water pumps, but I only get 15 to 20% margins on their water pumps. And the reasoning behind this, there are lots of things. Part of it could be for them, cost of production. Where are they actually sourcing their materials from? Are they sourcing them domestically? What is the actual cost of manufacturing for them? I mean, that's a huge part of it. Another is just like, how much do they actually want to be netting themselves to cover other expenses around the company. If it's facility expenses, if anything that goes along, overhead, you might say, employee salaries. So all of that is going to dictate what kind of margins you actually get from your supplier. And again, they can be totally different even if you're selling the same products from multiple different suppliers. And then that said, there are certain industries, certain niches where, the margins are generally going to be lower than others. I would say if you're selling heavy duty loading ramps, if you're selling greenhouses, if you're selling sheds, which I once did back with my first high-ticket dropshipping store. Sheds, you kind of have a glass ceiling at like 15 to 20% margins. It's big, they're heavy, they cost a lot to ship, and there's just not a lot of juice to be squeezed out of those. So what I tend to like look for is more um, something that's not quite as I guess heavy and difficult to ship. Although there are exceptions to this, so there's nuance to everything here. So that's really where you have to start the conversation: is what are the margins that I'm getting from my suppliers, and which products, which brands am I actually choosing to advertise? So that leads me into kind of the point two here of actual profitability, net profitability with high ticket drop shipping. So let's just assume an average margin of 30% across the board, and I think that's pretty reasonable when you're taking everything into account as far as actual margins from your suppliers. Then the next question is, how are you sourcing your traffic to your website? Are you someone that is solely focusing on SEO, or are you someone that is also spending money on Google Ads for intent-based, query-based marketing to get people onto your website? And I'll be the first to tell you, in my 5 years as a high-ticket dropshipper, my focus has always, first and foremost, been on paid advertising. It's what I know at this point, and I've always done it because, unlike SEO, you can actually have the potential for immediate results, immediate revenue, and it's much quicker to scale. The advantage of SEO is A, it's free, B, it creates a much more sustainable website over the course of time. The good news is that the two are not mutually exclusive. So with your SEO efforts, the more that you rank, the higher your domain authority becomes over time. All the things that go into it, between that and Google Ads, they actually influence each other. I'd say SEO, if your website is SEO optimized, search engine optimized, it will actually influence and in a positive way the way that your Google Ads actually operate. So the two kind of talk to each other, and the two are certainly not mutually exclusive. So let's just assume that you're doing the basics for SEO, but you're also paying money for your advertising. This is such a case-by-case thing that it's almost hard to put a number on it. Because when I first got started, I was spending about $1,000 per month on Google Ads. And I don't want to get super into how Google Ads work, I just kind of want to talk about the numbers here. And over the course of the next 3 months, I ended up scaling to about $2,500 to $3,000 per month. And again, this is money that I kind of had set aside, but I was getting sales, so I was able to put the money back into Google Ads. And then about a year later, I had my highest ever ad spend month, which was about $41,000 on Google Ads. But the revenue made up for it. If you want just an average profit margin over time, I would say anywhere between 10 to 20% is reasonable to expect. That's assuming that you are spending money on Google Ads. If you're only sourcing your customers with SEO organic, you can get closer to the 25 to 30% net profit range. But from an actual dollar perspective, this is just totally going to depend on how quickly you scale, how much money you actually have to spend on Google Ads, how many customers you can actually source, what your conversion rate actually is. All of these things come into it, but I can tell you my highest, most profitable month ever was close to $40,000, and that was, again, I spent around $40,000 in ads, but I had close to $300,000 in revenue. So it ended up, working out for me. But I've also had months, that were much slower, and I would say with a seasonal niche in the off season, something that was pretty routine for me was somewhere between $8,000 to $15,000 in net profit. But it's hard to put a dollar amount on a single case, because all of this is going to depend on how much capital you actually have to invest in this. And I think a more representative way to just generalize this would be percentages. And going back to what I said, I think A really good number to shoot for as far as net profit is 20%. Anywhere between 10 and 20% I think is pretty reasonable to achieve. And again, it's just kind of a case-by-case thing. Lastly, I'll just mention a few other expenses to keep in mind. Obviously, your ongoing Shopify subscriptions along with whatever apps that you happen to be using. Then you have your payment processing fees with Shopify, with PayPal, with whatever you happen to be using. But all of this, at the end of the day, is a business expense that takes away from your net profit. So taking all that into account, I would say anywhere from 10 to 20% is reasonable to expect. I'm gonna kind of end it there. I will say in the coming weeks, I'm going to introduce Lisa on the YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about just how powerful SEO is for the long term of a high-ticket dropshipping business. Because I'll be the first to admit, it's never been an emphasis of mine with my YouTube material, with my course material, and I'm really excited to be introducing this not only for the course and for my students' actual businesses, but for my own businesses too. So stay tuned for that. As always, I hope this is helpful. Again, I don't really do a lot of editing for these. This is just kind of a stream of consciousness about high-ticket dropshipping, and I think if I want to stay consistent with posting every single day, I just hate editing videos, so this is just what you guys are going to have to live with, and I hope that's okay. But leave a comment if you have questions, reach out to me, and check out my high-ticket dropshipping program and my high-ticket dropshipping services, and we'll see you in the next video.